Hello, I'm Tommy from the Bartitsu Lab, and in this, what is for me a very short video, we're going to be looking at ballistic grappling, a ballistic usage of using and manipulating a garment. Now, if you think of using clothes, and most people in my part of the world and in similar cold places, wearing heavy or robust clothing is the norm for most of the year. Being able to use clothing for grappling both as sport, as you might see in Cornish wrestling or in judo or jiu-jitsu, and indeed for self-defense, as you might see in some of the HEMA manuals and in modern day combatives, being able to use a garment to pull, push, twist, strangle, and essentially tie up and pin an opponent is a very smart thing to learn, very important thing to know. And many high-level athletes devote a huge amount of time to grip craft, getting the strength in their gripping hands, understanding which grips are relatively 50-50 and neutral, and which grips offer an advantage for you to exploit with your grappling. And they will fight very, very hard to make sure that they get the good grip and deny you the ability to achieve one of your own. So whether you're fighting off the opponent's grips or whether you're attaining one of your own of advantage, this is big business for self-defense and sporting systems. And I just want to talk about one of the things that I find very, very useful for me, specifically from a self-defense perspective. You see many systems focus on strike once, grab, strike, strike, strike. Gripping, pulling, pushing, taking people off balance and twatting them with something is both a learned behaviour and is a smart thing to do, and is also an instinctive behaviour. People do this very readily. Grab, pull, push, smash, smash. This is something that happens in fights all around the world, both sporting and on the street. Now, achieving that grip, opponents don't stay when they're hitting them. So if I'm hitting him and he's moving backwards or he's moving in, that puts him in the driving seat. So you want to control where he's going. And that's where this notion of being able to achieve a decent grip mid-combat is very important. But if you try this under duress, if you get yourself adrenalized, if you absolutely work yourself out to oblivion, give yourself a big adrenal dump, and then you try and ballistically grab something like a jacket. If you hang it on a bob, if you put it on a person when lockdown's over, if you try at speed, mid-fight, mid-flurry, if you go from a boxing combination to trying to grab a garment, often you'll find this kind of forward snatch can leave you with precious little fabric. And when it comes to using a jacket or grappling with clothes, the amount of cloth you can get in the hand is king. So if I get a small amount, my control is small. If I get a large amount, if I can get a big chunk of jacket here, or a big chunk of belt, if you think of like Middle Eastern and Russian wrestling systems, belt wrestling systems, even down to things like Glima, the more of the clothing I can grip, the better control I have over the lever. And if you try and grab under duress whilst fighting and defending, you can suddenly find yourself coming up a bit short with the amount of material you get hold of. It's all well and good if you're starting your judo match and you bow, you do a bit of grip fighting, but eventually it's accepted that both parties will grip. They'll fight for a better grip, but that will happen. When you're fighting with strikes involved, potentially weapons involved, numbers involved, you want to be cagier about allowing that to happen to you, and you want to get the best one on the opponent in the shortest possible time. And for that, far and away, what I find the most useful method of ballistically, in fight, attaining a clothing grip is the slap grab. So it's the difference for me, and again, this is personal to me. I find this, and people I teach this to, they find it useful, but you'll have to experiment it with yourself to see if you also find it useful. If I go from a striking context, bang, 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 and then I try and get a grip ballistically, hop. Now, just striking out or grabbing with venom, I find that I tend to get only a small amount of material. If I slap the surface first with the hand that is grabbing, so if I slap it, I get hard surface area on wherever I'm gripping, and then achieve the grip, I find that I get much more fabric, a much greater lever, affording me much greater control. So whether I'm going up top, let's say I'm going for a double lapel for some reason, I'll slap hard on this, then achieve the grips, then I can use kazushi, then I can use striking, I can use all this stuff, or go to a weapon drawer. It doesn't really matter. But the notion of slap grabbing, whether it's from the side, if I'm going for a belt, slap the belt, grab the belt. Nice and simple. I find that the slap and then the grab gives me much greater material access, much better control, and it flows nicely for me in the context of striking and grappling simultaneously. So I might go 1, 2, just as a throwaway example. And that slap and grab allows me to move at speed, with venom and force, match the dynamics of a flurrying fucking alley cat fight, and get a decent lump of fabric. So I'd encourage you to try it. Hang a coat on a coat hanger, practice with a person, try different jackets. Try one, immediate kind of reach out as fast as you can, grab a lump of fabric. Next, slap that fabric really hard and then grab. For me anyway, and for many people I show this to, it allows a better gripping of the fabric. There are some arguments about whether you should activate the thumb or whether you shouldn't activate the thumb. So the grip being either like so or like so. There are pros and cons to both. It can sometimes be injurious to the thumb to include the thumb in the grip. But I find that in reality the thumb is so integral to what makes a human grip well that, especially in a self-defense context, I'm willing to take the risk on a thumb-in grab for the extra surety it gives me. You can absolutely grasp in a thumbless way. Many people call this a monkey grab, using this here. Okay, so grabbing like this, you can achieve good success. I prefer allowing the thumb too, but in reality for me the main point is the slap, then the grip. So here on the belt, on the shoulder, on the lapel, round the back. The slap grab for me achieves results every time and gives me then the decent lever I need to pull, push, choke, manipulate using that jacket, which for me, for HEMA grappling, for self-defense orientated grappling is part of what I do. I find that eminently useful. And bear in mind, it needn't be said, soon as you achieve the grip, do something with it. Soon as I've got that lever, don't maintain it just here. That's when the hard graft begins. That's when you're pulling, you're twisting, you're turning, you're driving the person into a wall, you're doing something, you're getting that decent grip and you're hitting, and you're moving, and you're hitting, and you're moving, ragging a person around, pushing, pulling, making them feel like they're in a tumble dryer with a brick. That's the importance of a good grip. It should feel to him a bag of shit because you're moving him around. But I find the best way to achieve it, slap grab. Grab that material, then immediately start balance disruption, striking, throwing, locking, strangling. Immediately, that's a very important thing to do. But the slap grab for me is a really good way to achieve ballistic, in-fight, high-yield grappling. Get a decent lump of the clothing and then use that to throw. Naturally, you've always got the ability to focus on essentially a no-gi type of grappling, a wrestling type grappling that just relies on the anatomy of the human. Grabbing the arm is grabbing the arm, whether he's got a coat, a vest, or anything on. So that's very important to not over-rely on the use of clothing as a lever. Make sure you get that unjacketed wrestling on there, or using t-shirts or vests or other items of clothing. But I would say that don't neglect the advantage that a very good, advantageous grip can offer you if you achieve it ballistically and you do something useful with it straight away. Turn it, bang, 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 throw it, do whatever you want. The slap grab. Thumb in or thumb out, often it does the business.